Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be working on an MS193T, and we're going to be going over how to replace the handguard, which controls the chain brake and actually stops the chain from spinning. Okay. So one quick tip is you want to make sure your chain brake is back. Pull it back, disengage it. If it's pulled forward, it's actually going to clamp down, and you're going to be struggling trying to get that thing off there. So pull it back, disengage it. The other thing is, as far as your scrunch that you're utilizing, it's going to be smaller than your bigger saws. Okay, just because of the nut itself, it's smaller. So you want to use the correct one. Okay. Usually when you buy a brand new one of these, they'll give you the whole setup that you're going to utilize. Okay. Loosen that up. One awesome feature that I love about these little saws is the nut actually stays on there. You don't have to set it off to the side and end up losing it out in the field. So it stays on there. And loosen that up. Take it off. This little clip right here, when you're lining this thing back up, it actually hooks. There's a little slot for it in there. So when you put it back on, you want to make sure that lines up in the hole in there. Okay, putting this thing back on there. We'll go over that here at the very end. So at this point, we'll go ahead and grab our saw, put it off to the side, and this is all we're going to be utilizing. Okay, that's the big difference between these little saws and the bigger models, is all the inner workings of this chain brake are on this plate. Okay, the bigger models that I've showed you before, it's all on the actual power head itself. The other difference that we're going to have on these is the actual star wrench that you'll be using. The ones that we're usually using for the big ones are too big. Alright, so you're going to need something smaller. What I like utilizing is just a simple socket set like this. This is just a little Stanley set that I picked up with the correct adapters on there. We'll go through, there's two nuts, one on each side. Go through and loosen those up, take them off. And then I have a metal tray on the side, magnetic, that holds all my screws and everything as I'm working. Okay, so that one's off. So the other little key point here that we're going to have is right here under this plate up top, right about in here, and then there's another one right here, the little clips that line up in there that you don't want to break off. So when you're prying on this thing and loosen it off this, you don't want to break it, so you want to be gentle. You know, I usually start on this side and then just kind of work it up. Alright, so it pops off. Okay, now that it pops off, you can see the three clips. This one, and this one. There's this other one in here, but usually this is one of these three are the ones that end up breaking off. Alright, so we'll go ahead and set that off to the side. The other thing when we get to this point here is watch this spring. Okay, right now it's engaged, so there's separation in this spring. That means it's under pressure. You know, it's being pushed in that direction. Okay, when I engage or disengage it, see how it closes back up? Disengage the chain brake. It creates separation in there, puts under more pressure. So you want to push forward, and that allows it to close back up. And this is going to make life easier when you go to take that off. Alright. So at this point, I go ahead and grab my needle nose, and then right in here, I grab the actual chain brake spring, and I just pull up on it. See that? Pull straight up. Past videos I showed you how to take this off. Just hooks right in there. Okay. If this is all you're doing at this point, go ahead and grab your new one, put it back on there, and then work it back in. Right? There's a whole separate video for that, but some other key points. At this point, this actual spring, we talked about how much pressure there was on there. We took that pressure off, so now we should be able just to pop this thing right off there. See that? Move back. If you don't take that pressure off that spring, you're going to end up struggling. There's no way I could get this thing off by just popping it off there. Alright? So there it is. And then this thing just hooks right here. Alright, so that spring's off. Now we look, you look right in here. There's a little C clip or a little E clip. There's a couple little holes on the opposite side. You just kind of put your little tuning screwdriver and you pull back on it. See that? Popped right off. That's it. E clip, C clip, different names for it. Put that in my metal tray. Okay, now we've removed pretty much everything we need to remove. This little plastic cover here, usually I just take it off so it doesn't fall off or get in the way. Just set it off to the side. Okay, and here, some people pop it from down here. I grab the actual whole chain brake and I move it towards me. So from this point and this point, that's the only points you got to worry about. Kind of wiggle it up and see that it pops right off there. At this point, this actual goes into the actual black casing of the handle, and once it's off that rivet, you can take it right off there. See that? It slides in there. Once it's off, I'm able to get that chain brake right off there. And just to show you again, this thing actually slides right in there like this. And then you line the holes up when you go to put it back on. You want to make sure it lines up here and here. Okay, that's what holds it on. While I'm in here, all these, sometimes you'll get some wear and tear. You can actually replace these as well. Okay, there'll be a separate video for that. Just make sure it's all sit in there. You want to make sure this spring is all in there actually as well, because when you're working with it, it could pop out. So where I will grab my brand new handle and go ahead and get it in there first. So work it through there. Once it's in, see that? Kind of over exaggerated, but go ahead and put it just like that so you can see it. Grab this, slide it on there so where it kind of lines up, and then you start lining it up. Start lining up the holes, okay, over that little rivet. The thing here, the little trick is you want to simultaneously get it on that little rivet and that other rivet. So make sure all the holes line up. There, and then you just press straight down. Okay. If you got to work this thing back and forth with your hand, go ahead. Okay. So you can see that one lined up, that one lined up, and that one lined up. And then I'll just press straight down. Alright. At this point, so this is the one of the crucial points, is you gotta make sure you grab your little E-clip and put that thing back on there, because if you start putting anything else back on, it's gonna pop off. And usually I like lining it up right on top of here, okay, and then I push from the bottom up. See that? I lined it up from the bottom up. I kind of get it to grab on each side of that, and at that point, I set it down. I press from the bottom up. Okay. If you put your screwdriver flat, you can get it, but sometimes it'll slip off. So what I do is I at a 45-degree angle this way, and then I turn my screwdriver up so it grabs a little bit, and then I slowly just put pressure so push it up on there. Sometimes it's one shot, sometimes it's multiple, but see that? Clicked right on there. It's on there, it's secure. It's a little rivet here on each side, it's all touching. You're good to go. Alright. At this point, so you don't struggle later, I get my chain brake spring, I hook it in, okay, so it hooks in there, and then I start working it in. Here. I got a specific video for this if you want to look for that, but it's the same concept on this saw and it's the same concept on the bigger saws when it comes to this spring. Okay, so it's in the groove, it's all the way around. Key points, make sure it's not sticking above these plastic. Okay, so run your finger along the edge. See, that one was, I felt it fall in there just with my thumb. It's just pressure. Now it's in. Excuse me. Then we grab our little plastic rubber gasket, slide it in there. It's already got a natural groove to it right here on top where it lines up. It just sets right in there. That kind of keeps that chain brake spring from popping. That keeps it in place. So when we go to put our cover on, I'll show you, but there's one of these clips, this little clip right here. When you go to put it on, sometimes it gets hung up right here. So you got to feed this spring around it, and I'll show you here in a second. Okay, so we're there. This is another one of my tricks that I like using, and this is once again just years of experience and working out in the field that you don't always got the right tools, but that's why we do these videos. So we hook it in there. Okay, you see that? It's latched on there. At this point I kind of let it rest, and I grab my little tuning screwdriver, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to leverage off this little stud. Okay, so I stick it in like this, and I leverage on there, and it does two things. One, it gives me leverage. Two, it lines it right on, so when I press down with my finger, it slides right on there. See this? Watch. Boom. It's on there. So I leverage, slide it on, just a quick little tip. Some people use these, some people have their own little ways of doing it, but like I said, I'm out in the field and I always carry one of these to do my tuning on my saws, and that's a great little trick. So try it out, let me know what you think, if it works for you or if not. Okay, so we got it back on there. Go ahead and toss on your cover. Once again, we talked about this clip. When you start lining it up, it could get hung up. Just gonna take some time here. So you can see it. You can see it right here. It's hitting. So you want to grab the spring, pull it forward, and then press it down. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and disengage this brake. So you saw that. Saw that little clip in there. So you gotta make sure you work it around it. Grab that chain, that spring, and pull it forward, and that allows that metal, that plastic clip to fall behind it. Okay, and then it sits in there nicely. Go ahead and grab your screws. I always tighten everything by hand. Get them started. That way you know you're not stripping them. You can just get them started correctly. And it doesn't. Just give them the bite. My little tool. Oh. I got. All right.